Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Kai Shulin project where I decided I'm going to do this one more video to kind of finish everything up. So as you remember last time, we made the rifle, which I'll be honest, I generally don't do this type of wood carving stuff. I really like the way this came out. If anybody who does wood carving all the time might go, eh, but I love this thing. It looks so good. We're not done. So this time I'm going to go ahead and make the scope that goes on that. And that's going to be part one of this video. And then after that, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to clean this whole setup around and get ourselves back to what we're kind of usually at. And then I need to make the folds in the cloak on the one side so that I can then rest the rifle on her shoulders and just fall off the edge. And that will also give a chance that once this whole construction part is done, at least you will see a finished product on camera, a finished model on camera, before we then start doing the whole priming, painting, and all that type of stuff. Which it would be a shame if I'd ended before and didn't have one of those shots. So that is the goal. Now that said, as I had mentioned before, I do have like a 1/4-inch dowel I can use, which kind of matches this. So I'll just start from a straight block of wood. I can start from an actual cylinder shape, which I've also marked out with where any individual line is. Now, I don't have a lathe, and I know I've seen ways, and I know ways I can jerry rig a drill to get turned into a lathe, but in the time and effort it would take to do that, to have it kind of really clamp down really good, make an end board that it goes into, get everything kind of set up and so it works, I can just do this without it. So we're going to do this the kind of old-fashioned way with, well, a Dremel. But we're going to do this without a lathe and see how this works, which I know it's going to work out well, because if it doesn't, I'm going to do it again on a separate video, and you'll never know this video existed. So the power of doing this via video. Alright, so let's see what we can do. That said, we have the sight. The two ends of the scope are the full width of this. The middle, I have set my calipers up and gotten them. I keep calling these calipers, it's a compass. I have set my compass up to, somehow it got moved. Well, it was set up before I put it down somewhere. That's cool. Okay, it's now set up to be the size I need the individual part to be. So we're gonna go ahead and have fun. It also helps I have the right end sitting down here. And when I marked out any individual line, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, I have little dashed lines in between. The dashed lines are what I need to get to be the correct size right now. So that's kind of what I'm going from. Can we see stuff on camera? I think we can. So one more time, we got to make some noise. All I'm doing is very easily twisting the material while keeping the saw itself pretty steady. Now this blue paint, I'm not sure where this piece actually came from, but we're going to wind up painting this thing anyway in the end, so I'm not worried about that blue paint being on there. Yeah, unfortunately I can't get my sanding pads in here, which I would prefer to use over this guy. But I prefer the sanding pads, but that's just not going to work. And we're pretty much just about in there. And then we get to do that, 1, 2, 3, 4 more times over from this. And then after this is done, then I'll cut the whole thing to size. Just because if I cut this to size right now, trying to hold this little tiny thing with that in there is kind of a pain. It's just a whole lot easier to keep my hand out of the way. So that's why I'm dealing with this whole big honking piece. But I will say this is, although yes, I am kind of shaving it in the middle as such like this, getting the outer edges right is easier. It's kind of twisting the whole thing around to get it where it wants to be. Okay, does that work? I think we're just about in there. I'm just a hair wide on the back, and I can clean it up a little bit. That said, I finally did harden everything. So now all the ammo stuff on the legs, they're all hardened. Everything is done and good. I have put this all together. I kind of mocked up real quick a little piece of clay to kind of hold this thing on. And I'm not gonna lie, this thing, maybe it's my rose-colored glasses, but model looks freaking good. I am looking forward to the, get in there. Yeah, there we go. So that's exactly what we want, and it's actually kind of a cylinder. So you know, if we're just going to be going down the line, I might as well make this right as we go. And I have my computer set up on the side, but really I can just look at this because I detailed this thing out as good as whatever the computer is going to show. So as long as I can see that it's saying that it is recording, which it is, I don't really need to look at that for anything. Alright, that just needed a little bit of an angle on that side for it to work. And now, yeah, the rest of that stays straight. So now we're back to this fun guy. Now hopefully this takes, as long as this takes no more than half an hour, I'm going to be fine. So I do want to leave time to do the other part and have the show off and reveal and all that type of stuff. So. So you get to watch me spin this thing for a while. I'm not gonna lie, having an actual lathe would make things a little bit easier. Having an actual lathe, you just want to get some of these little kind of fuzzy things off. This little kind of upper part was getting all the fuzzy things. We don't want that. That just gets a little more annoying. So our goal right now is just getting all of these skinny portions done. Then we can shrink the bigger ones, those things, to size as need be afterwards. But yeah, it would be nicer if I could actually use the sanding one on here. I really don't like using this thing. It's not the most efficient cutting tool, but it does get the job done. see, we're looking a little lopsided right there. I think I was kind of looking for lopsided portions. Generally, I'm doing some looking for lopsided portions as we go. Let's see, I need something with a little bit of thickness in this, just to kind of... You know, rose-colored glasses are very real. At the same time, it's not bad having rose-colored glasses. That's what gives you all kind of like the hope that everything is working out well. Okay, so far so good. I have 2 more of those things to go. This one leaves a very skinny part in the middle. Oh, can we get this thing to come out just a little bit further? Oh, we can. Yeah, I want that thing out farther, just so that this isn't hitting the edge. And I can kind of just keep it a little straighter. Actually, that's a little too far for this one. See if we can get this thing the right direction, the right dimension. All right, where am I going to? Yeah, that feels good. Don't do that. Stop it. It's not the most precise science thing this way. Having a little lathe would be a little bit nicer, even though I've never actually used it. I haven't used a lathe since metal shop back in middle school, 8th grade in middle school, so it's been a while since I've used a lathe. But that would make this a little bit easier and probably more precise. Although it's not like this isn't working. We're getting the view we want. Whether or not you can see it on camera, I don't know, but I'm getting what I want out of this. Okay, now I want you coming out just a little bit more. Okay, I believe this is the last one of these. This one's actually a little bit harder because the Dremel is hitting the edge of it, so I can't really get the straight line that I really want. That's always fun. Even if something goes wrong, I always have a good grip on my cutting instrument. If the material goes, that's fine. Just kind of keep in mind what's important to hold on if something does kind of snag or catch or goes wrong. as long as you get this close, I can use a little my sanding paper there to get it all the way nice. I don't think we're anywhere near on that. I just want to get a start on this. These will at least take the high ridges out so I can get a little more easily see what I'm dealing with. I have really not been looking at my computer to see how much this is or is not on camera. So hopefully everything is good. I kind of tested before. This is the general area, but I feel like this one is just a hair skinnier, but it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Let's just get this roughly what I want. Our time is actually pretty okay. That's good. Pretty okay is what I'm kind of going for. Alright, so that kind of gives us what we want there. And, alright, so what do we have on this? Which things are important? So if we're over here, we need... Those two can kind of stay. These two kind of fatter ones are the mounts, and they can be just a hair smaller. Actually, that one I can do with this. Let's see. Is that kind of visible? Now they don't get shrunk super much. But it is a little preference. Do that way, but it's gonna hit like all the wrong spots to sand. Okay, so that goes there. Where are you? So this, we do want just a teeny bit up on the side here, not much. That gives us a side, and that's essentially our scope. Just kind of need to cut out the edge, which thankfully this should be able to do. Alright, we're going to do two cuts. One a little higher because I kind of forced this saw to be kind of angled a little bit, and then I can turn it around and cut straight along the other end. So this is going to be bigger than what we need. the deeper you cut in, the more likely it is to catch on something, which is bad. Okay, now that we have this, now I can kind of get in here a little bit nicer. I don't need the saw sticking out nearly as far, so it's going to be a little safer. Now we kind of can give ourselves a better edge. Okay, I'm going to keep my thumb out of the way this time. And there are better ways to cut this thing to the right size. There we go. All right, and we have ourselves a scope made all the wrong way, but I just need to then put that up. That's going to go on top of you. I would just need to make myself a little bracket to hold that. That said, I realized before this actually wasn't 100% complete to begin with. What I didn't put on here, which I'm going to do real quick right now, which I wasn't going to do before that in case that didn't work and I had to do a second take, was this gets kind of bifurcated down the middle, and this one gets kind of bifurcated down the middle. So it kind of reads as two separate pieces over there. So I'm just going to do a real whoop right around. And get that out of the way. And then we're going to take a little break, and when I come back, we're going to finish the other stuff. Now again, I'm angling the blade here for a reason. If I go straight, you're going to get the full width of the blade. If I go at an angle, you get more of the point in the middle, so it's going to wind up being just a little bit skinnier. So that's why I'm kind of angling this a little bit as I go around. Alright, so that's now bifurcated, which is good. What's the better way to hold this thing? Okay. Finish that off. This is one of the details I saw before. So that's what I'm going to do for this part. All I need to do now is I have little pieces of the basswood. I can just go to make the jig then to kind of hold this all together. So I'll make this, I'll glue it all together off camera. When we come back, we're going to finish off the model itself and do the rest of the kind of the whatchamacallit, the cloak. And so this thing has something to kind of rest up against and doesn't just fall off her shoulder, because it 100% does. Like I said, I mocked up something real quick, but it 100% without that little kind of quick mock-up right off the edge. But stay tuned and be right back, and when we come back, it's going to start looking good. So, see you soon. And we're back. You probably haven't seen this view in a while. I've kind of forgotten how many pieces this actually comes apart into. But believe it or not, it comes apart into 14 different pieces, of which we did finally finish and detailing out. The sniper rifle here, mounted the scope, put a sight on the front, and we in there. But yeah, this is what we ultimately have. You probably forgot knee pads themselves actually come apart in separate pieces. We had that little knife that kind of came down in there. Our ammo stuff has been all hardened, so we are all good. Like I said, the only thing we have left is I have had this mocked up in its entirety before, but I do need to make a little fold kind of right in here, so when the rifle comes up, against, it doesn't just slide right off the shoulder. It can hook onto that. So let's get going. Let's get into that, and then we'll have the big put together afterwards. Because can't show you too much stuff right now. Or can't show you too much stuff too soon. That would be bad showmanship. We got to make this into a thing. Okay, now this is actually slightly harder than it looks. Now I know I did a lot of these other folds. I did that. I did this. I added all that in. I added more folds down here off camera before. But trying to stick the fresh clay onto the already hardened stuff, it doesn't stick too well. And actually, I forgot to bring that out, which I'm very much going to need. So this might kind of go on and come off a little bit a couple times, but we're going to see. Plus, we need to kind of make this look like it would work in here, which is another kind of trick. They kind of look appropriate. Although this will pretty much always have the rifle on her shoulder, so I'm not super concerned with that. But for that, we want to have, that's going to be, like I said, that's going to be kind of the issue, is it will want to pop up. And I always need to have a finger back here so I don't break this in the process of trying to get this in. But we want to have a steeper kind of area up top, and then it can fold down a little more on the bottom. And actually, even just as a profile, that's not too bad. It just looks like a regular fold. Then again, this side needed something, because it had nothing going for it before. Now, the only downside is I already have this is already in place. I can't really, using conventional means, I can't really change that. That's like kind of break it off and redo that portion again. So I can't have a fold then continue into this, because this won't match whatever I do. So whatever folds I kind of put in here have to kind of terminate at that in a way that kind of makes sense. And as I said before, trying to get smooth edges on this is so very hard when dealing with old or new to old kind of situation. But alrighty, that's actually not terrible, and that only took a couple minutes and not much more. But that will get the job done. The nice thing is, because this is going to be painted, if I have slightly rough edges, there are a lot of slightly rough edges all throughout this, which you probably can't see on camera, but if you kind of get your face up close, you see it. It's once we get the paint on there and the camouflage stuff and all that, some of those slightly rough spots are going to work themselves out. Now, if we're doing this, like I said, just adding a couple folds on the other side, you can already see the difference between this side, between the two sides. This feels very plain, so I'm going to accentuate, say, a couple of these little spots down here as well, because we already got the top part done, so why not? Get off my finger. Get off my finger and get on the model. There's a reason I did this off camera before. And just adding a little more is going to give a little more of that kind of shadow detail to it, even though, again, once the rifle's on here, you will never see any part of this shadow detail that goes on here. But I keep feeling I'm going to snap this thing. It does have some support. I did put it in here long enough. It does do its job, but there's still the back of your mind. It's like, be careful. Don't break it at this juncture. No matter what I do, do not break it at this juncture. Bad things will happen. I will be very upset. I may not show it on camera. If I do that, I'm not going to show it on camera, but I will be upset. Let's see. So if we have that going in there, so I have this going up and this fold going in. We want this fold then kind of meet up with it. So let's bring this one out a little more. Okay, so this is actually going by quicker than I thought it was going to. So that's good. That's good. We don't need to have every video be this gigantic length. Besides, it's kind of a bonus video anyway. I wasn't really expecting to do this one until I realized, I really don't want to finish. I would rather finish off with a complete model on camera, so this is probably a good thing that I have time to do this. I'm not super rushed at this point. Yeah, finger is still the best smoothing method when possible. The other stuff is nice, but using the finger to kind of smooth this stuff out is still very OP. Alright, now we want this to gradually kind of come in. That comes up, and that already gives, I don't know if that was on camera or not, but we already have now at least a little more visual interest going on in here. And that is kind of what we're going for. Like I said, it helped on the other side. So we're going to give it a little bit on this side as well. I can go just a little bit more. We can go just a little bit more. Right up top, kind of. Let's get the fatter end on this side. Yeah, this is kind of like the bang model. You don't want things to be subtle. If you want to make a detail, you want something to be, you want a detail to be visual. So doing these super subtle kind of folds and whatnot is great. It might be more realistic, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't see it. So we're gonna make these so they're actually visible. Plus, if you're folding, like I said, the fabric pieces that are kind of like this, these are always thicker than you think they are because I tend to crimp the edges. This helps add folds that you otherwise can't do in the other material when you're just kind of doing the initial stuff. Let's get the edge here nice. Yeah, the problem with trying to roll it with this is this tends to peel off the very edge layer. When I'm doing my finger, I'm always going on. I'm always kind of smearing it towards from the soft to the hard kind of stuff. When I'm using this and I kind of go back and forth, it tends to wiggle it off, which isn't ideal. So, okay, I'm missing just a little bit. Right in here it has kind of a little concave, which we don't want. So let's see if we can kind of just smooth that out. And I thought I was done with all the clay work. I wasn't. I definitely wasn't. All right, how are we doing on time? We're around 35 minutes-ish. That's not bad. Okay, so that goes in. We have a little bit of a weird bump right in there, so I just want to smooth that out. Actually, I don't need that much. It just needs a little something, I think. Smooth out there, smooth out. I figured I was going to be doing more on the upper part, but that smoothed out in seconds. So, and I don't want to overkill that part to make it feel just straight up weird. So I'm just kind of okay with that just kind of being what it is. I think without the rifle it's a little bit weird, but actually I could bring it down just a little bit more, have it kind of come all the way down to the end here. Not sure. Not sure I really do want it to go all the way to the end. Getting the feeling I could have just left good enough alone. Let's get some of that out. Yep. Could have just left good enough alone and been happy with it, but no. Now this was being held up before. Partly this some of that might have been because there's a little bit of friction on here. Just because it's still soft, so when it hardens it might have a little, it's not going to have any of that friction. So maybe I can go and emphasize the ridge just a little bit more, just to really give that rifle something to hook into. Although worst case scenario, I can always put a little peg on the bottom of this so it kind of clicks in, much like everything on the torso here kind of clicks in. So I could always do that as well if I don't want to go too over the top. Okay, so I want is steeper on the top and just kind of it more gradually comes down off the side. I just need to smooth this off, and I think we are in there. And if any of this has been done on camera, that would be even better. Okay, and I think we're kind of in there. We got a little bit of that fold kind of going there. That seems to work. It definitely goes up here. It does give that little bit of a ledge, which is kind of what I want. So how about we go ahead and see how all this turns out in the end. So let's see here. Let's move some things out of the way. And it's time for the big drum roll reveal. Oh, remember when we did all these different parts? We have the legs, we have a knee pad. We have 2 holes for a knee pad here. Let's use the correct one. Alright, we have that knee pad. What comes next? We have a torso. We got the ammo stuff. Oop. Alright, we have that ammo piece. We have that ammo piece. We do have a knife that goes up wherever there's a hole over here. We have the one arm. We have the other arm. Alright, our new piece we just finished off over there. Let's get a little bit higher. Let's get you a little bit further back. We do have a head. We have this fun hat and hair section. We got our guard, and now to complete it off, let's see, we're not sitting as well as I thought. Okay, so I want a little bit less right down on this bottom part. Yeah, that shoulder pad, unless I actually hook that thing up a little nicer, is going to be a thing. Okay, so we need a little less down on the bottom because the trigger on the rifle is kind of hitting that. And really the trigger part there is what's holding the whole thing in to begin with. So let's smooth you out, get you in there. This is why we assembled just a little bit early, because they're a little bit before the requisite hour. Nothing has to be an hour. I don't know why. It's whenever I was doing my other ones before I started doing the video stuff, I would just kind of do hour sessions each time, and just kind of got used to that. So that's really all where the hour came from. It's not like it's supposed to be a hard, I need every video to be that. It's just generally, I don't think to be longer than that. Okay, let's get the excess clay out of the way. Put you back up there in case this actually does work. That goes in, yeah, now. Okay, so now that I have that kind of where I want it, now we want this to be a little bit taller right there. And I do want you to be kind of steep as it comes down. Back side doesn't have to be. Front side kind of does. Yeah, that fits either now flat or kind of straight. So I think we're in there. And there, we're not in there. Ah, and I lost you. I don't want to lose that. let's not keep dropping this. That would also be not good. We would like the scope to work. Okay, that's holding. I want. Alright. This little end detail-y part isn't quite going how I wanted it to, but we in there. It's all good. And with that, we have, yeah, well, we're gonna be playing that a little bit by hardening, but that's kind of where we stand. That is our Kai Shulin. I need to get a little roundabout table here so I can spin you correctly. But overall, I'm pleased with this. I am pleased with the sculpt. It came out how I wanted to. It's a little awkward with the rifle being a different color. It kind of is right now, but in the end it's going to work. Once again, we have the hat brim causing shadow over the face, which is always kind of fantastic. But no, overall I had a good time with this one. And I thought just as the final kind of send-off, we might as well bring back some of the models we've done that I've showcased throughout this kind of project. Just kind of see that, yeah, she does fit in with the rest of kind of my modeling family over here. So there we go. There is Kai. She made it. Let's get everybody kind of on screen here. I don't have enough table to move this camera back any further. But yeah, no, this was fun. This was a good one. Like I said, I'd never done a war type character before. They've always kind of been more kind of the fanciful, as you can see with my Saria and Realm ones. I've kind of had some adventure-y ones. I have guys like holding swords and whatnot, so it's kind of more meaningless. So I've never actually had a war kind of looking figure. And I think for me, Kai kind of fit that bill. It's kind of in that realm of the, let's say, the Korean War Memorial kind of look, not all the way there, and it's kind of more of a stylized version of that, where just like you have the poncho kind of draped over, and to me that kind of fits the feeling that I was going for. And overall, like I said, it was a different type of project, but I've been pleased with this one, and it's not done yet. She's gonna get painted next, so come next session, it's about to look a lot worse. Because next session we're going to go priming. Priming, everything looks terrible after that. And then we're going to build it back up again when we get to the actual painting phase. Now again, a lot of these other ones I've done are going to be incredibly hard to do painting at this point because they weren't designed to come apart in pieces. Yes, the heads come off on everyone, but that's pretty much about it. So, like I said, nowadays we're going to be doing it with the paint. It's going to be the next couple probably like 2 weeks worth of stuff. I'm guessing around 10 hours worth of painting. It seems to be generally how long it takes to do those. So next 2.5 weeks worth of the project should be an exciting time. So that's when it's actually going to really come to life. And yeah, should be good. And until then, and until we get to that point, let's get everybody in shot here. This has been fun. And this has been the modeling phase of the Kai Shulin project. Modeling complete. All right, on to the next step. Till then, enjoy.